previous lesson, we saw many examples of databases, some on paper in filing cabinets and others stored electronically on computers. You were asked to go to a library to see what their database looked like. It is possible that they still use index cards where you can look for a book or topic on small cards in drawers. This system has been used successfully for years. The disadvantage is that it is difficult to manage a very large database like this. If you look for books on a particular topic, you will have to write down all the reference numbers from these cards and then look for the books. There's also room for human error, since the librarian has to make out a card for every topic covered in each book. In this lesson, we will concentrate on computerized databases and describe each of the components that form a database. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to provide reasons for why computers are used to manage databases, open an existing database using a software program, and identify the components that make up a single table database. Right, guys, I hope that you have been able to visit a library to find out how they keep a record of all their books. Let's hear what you have found out.
Hey Dawn, we're here at the Olive Day Library and boy have we learned a lot. We're also here with the librarian Jenny. Now this particular library uses a computerized database, and using a computerized database has so many advantages. For example, the librarian can catalog books without even having to type, since all the data is automatically downloaded to the book's database and including images which can be displayed with the data.
Yes, and the librarian can edit and make changes to details easily, and these databases allow viewing of all the books that you have entered.
Yeah, and it is also possible to browse a collection of books, for example, viewing them by author or by type of book, for example, sport and horror. Now lastly, the librarian can also keep track of the books that have been borrowed, the loan dates and the due dates.
Well done, you two. A computerized database also allows all lists to be sorted instantly according to any field. It can be sorted by author, title or publisher, or by release date, purchase date, or by year. In addition, by using the filter feature, you can search for any value in any field. For example, find all books with the word house in the title. Although it is expensive to install computers, buy the necessary software and train people to use computers and databases. The advantages of having data readily available usually outweighs the cost and effort. Let's look at a database that has already been created. To open this program, you click on Start, Programs, and then find the database program you will be using. There are many database programs available such as DBase, MySQL, and the OpenOffice Base. For our purposes, we will use Microsoft Access. To open a database, click on the File menu and then on Open or use the shortcut icon. If the file is not listed under Files in the task pane on the right-hand side of the screen, select the drive or folder that contains the database that you want in the Look-in box, and double-click the database you want to open. The window that appears when you open an Access database is called the database window. As we said before, a database is a collection of information that is related to a particular subject or purpose. The database window displays shortcuts for creating or opening database objects such as tables, queries, forms, reports, pages, macros, and modules. All these objects are stored within the same database file. Let's look at these objects now. A database will have one or more tables. Let's open the table called Books. As you can see, a table is made up of rows and columns. In a table, each column is a field that represents one fact or piece of information. For example, the fields title, author, publisher, release date, purchase date, or price. Each row is a record representing all the data about one book in this case. all the data is stored in the tables. The second object in a database is queries. Selection queries enable you to see only some of the fields or some of the records by applying a filter. A query applies selection criteria or rules to all the data and then only show the data you want. You can, for instance, use a query to see only some of the fields in the table, such as only the title and author. We will discuss how to create such queries in a later lesson in this series. Selection queries can also show some of the records, such as only the books written by J.K. Rowling. Note that the query doesn't store any data and it also doesn't delete any data from the original table. It simply filters the data already stored in the table to show only the records meeting the criteria or rules given. You can save as many queries as you like. The filter is applied to the table when you open the query. That means if you have just added more records and in this case more books to the table, these records will now be included in your query. Say I add Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling to the table and then open the query of books by J.K. Rowling again, the new book that was added will be included. The third object, forms, is used to view, edit, or add data from one record at a time. Forms can display pictures and all the fields on one screen instead of having to scroll left and right in a table. A form cannot store any data. However, it does allow you to update or edit details of a record. These updates or edits will automatically change the table where the original data was stored. A change or edit in a form will be visible in the table, queries, and other objects where this record appears. Let's add a book called Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela in the form and now look at the table. Do you see that this book has been added to the table? The fourth object, reports, is used to print data in a specific layout. For example, you might print one report that groups data and calculates totals and another report with different data formatted for printing mailing labels. Reports are also based on tables or queries. The layout is saved, but the report is generated using the data in the table when you open the report. If you have to make changes or edits to data in the table and you then open the report, it will automatically reflect the changes you made. If your database isn't stored on a computer or only parts of it are, you may be tracking information from a variety of sources. For example, the phone numbers of your friends can be stored on your cell phone, others in an address book, in your email program, and in your school diary as well. If a phone number changes, you might have to update that information in all three places. In a well-designed computerized database, however, you have to update that information in one place only. It will be automatically updated in all queries and reports. Say I change for this book and open the query with books from J.K. Rowling. Can you see the name has also changed here? Let's see if the report has also changed. Great! You can see that when you update a particular piece of data, such as a name, in just one place, that change automatically appears throughout the database. When you update any data, it is automatically updated everywhere it appears. Now, because all objects of a database are linked to each other, it is probably a good idea to give all tables, queries, forms, and reports meaningful names. To rename any of the database objects, you have to close the object first. Then use the shortcut menu by right-clicking with your mouse on the object name and select Rename. Then type the new name for the object and then press Enter. Let's rename the query for Harry Potter books, which is currently called Books Query 1. To delete database objects, you have to close the object first, and then you can click the object name from the object list and then press delete. Let's delete books query. An interesting fact about Access databases is that you cannot use the Save As menu option to rename, copy, or move the database. You have to close the Microsoft Access file first. In My Computer, find the database, file, and right-click it. Then choose Copy, Cut, or Rename on the pop-up menu. If the destination where you're placing the file is already visible, you can quickly move the file by dragging it to the new destination, or you can copy the file by holding down the Control key while you drag the file. Often you might forget information that you have learned, or you might want to learn about a new feature, or you might want to refresh a skill you haven't used in a while. Using a computer gives you several options to get answers for yourself. You could ask the office assistant for help. The assistant automatically provides help topics and tips on tasks you perform as you work. You can change the appearance of the assistant by right-clicking on it and by selecting Choose Assistant. For example, if we did not know how or could not remember how to rename a field in a table, you would type in Rename Field in the balloon underneath the question, What would you like to do? Then click on the option About renaming fields in a table. The next screen will display an explanation on how to rename fields in a table. You also could go directly to the Help pages by clicking on the Help menu item and then on Microsoft Access Help. Choose the Contents tab to view the table of contents for help, or the Index tab to search for specific words or phrases, or choose from a list of keywords, or you can use the Answer Wizard, which works exactly like the Office Assistant. Using help files are very important, and practicing this skill applies not only to databases but all software applications on the computer. Your task is designed to give you more practice. For your task, I want you to use the help function in your database program to find out what the difference is between Datasheet view and the design view. In our next lesson, you will learn how to create your own table using a database program. Thank you for joining us for this lesson, and be sure to browse our website for interactive web lessons on databases. Until next time, goodbye.